Okay.
I got an 84.
And we're streaming. Good.
Oh. Alright, I think it's time.
That tasted bad in my mouth.
Wave, everybody.
That's what I hope she
Hey, buddy.
says.
Ah! Alright. Alright, here we go.
I couldn't help it. And I love Ray Ayanami.
Okay, so you're a Ray person.
And I ship her with Shinji. Yes, I'm a shipper. I'll say that right now.
That's a little awkward, and I'll explain why later.
I know, because I'm a guy.
No, not that.
And because I'm 14 years old.
Guys.
I'm an adult.
No, it's about the shit.
Oh, chocolate.
WKNH 91.3 FM, Keene, New Hampshire, baby.
Ready? Go for it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for probably the best show to hit the airwaves. Yes, it is time for As the Reel Turns. Yes, indeed, hooray for Hollywood. I am Daniel Saletti, and this is As the Reel Turns, your place for all things movie and television. And before we get into our normal thing for today, we are, of course, going to start off our show with giving you a little bit of an entertainment update. Yes, it is now time for an entertainment update, and we're going to give you a little, very cute, few quick things here. First of all, for you English fans, we're actually going to be talking about English franchises today, but the first thing we want to mention is that there has been the release of the Downton Abbey film, and I saw a little bit of it as from its release, and it seems to be a very good follow-up to the series, and a nice finale for all of the Downton Abbey stuff going on. So if you're a Downton Abbey fan, go check that out. Also, if you are a fan of American movies and American history, then you may have hope, because there is a supposed thing out there saying that National Treasure 3 might start filming in the spring of 2020. Yes, there has been a thing going out on the Wikipedia of Wiki, and it has been said that we might get the first shots of National Treasure 3 spring 2020. So I will keep up on that, and we will find out if that actually happens. But until then, this has been our entertainment update. So yes, now on to our regularly scheduled program. Today we're going to be talking about something that I think a lot of people have heard these two names before. It is a very famous franchise from across the pond in England. It is a pair of, well, it's a guy and his dog, and that's been seen in a lot of different ways, but none more than in a franchise we like to call Wallace and Gromit. Yes, Wallace and Gromit. It has been one of the biggest English franchises out there. It kind of takes a backseat from a lot of the other big things that come out of England, but it's still very popular. And we're going to be talking about all things related to the great inventor and his dog. Or I think it's better explained just in the trailer of the actual film. Take a listen real quick.
One's an inventor. Just a bit of harmless brain alteration, that's all. Who never says die. Full suction. The other is his dog, who never says anything.
So there you go. And of course I can never do this alone, so that's why I have some great people to talk about this with. Right next to me we have my friend Mr. Christy Riley. Say hello, Christy Riley.
Hello, Christy Riley.
Alright, and diagonal from me we have, you know him, you love him, it's Dylan Tavishan. Say hi, Dylan.
Cracking show, Daniel.
Thank you. And then also diagonal from me we have the man, the myth, the legend, one Mr. Casey Schmidl-Gagney. Say hi, Casey.
Domino's Pizza, Domino's Pizza, Domino's Pizza.
Yeah, we are not sponsored by them. Okay, so, guys, we're going to be talking about...
I am.
We're going to be talking about Wallace and Gromit today. I'm excited. I hope you are excited. And we're going to start out first with the things that made them popular, which is their shorts. And they've made 4 shorts, a movie, and then also some little things that we're going to talk about further on.
Micro shorts.
Micro shorts, we'll call them. But the one thing is that with all the stuff that they've made, they've actually achieved something. And that is, they've achieved a legend. And when you're a legend, you get to celebrate them. So I think it is time that we wish Wallace and Gromit a happy anniversary, because this is a landmark year. So let's wish Wallace and Gromit a happy anniversary, guys.
Happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary.
Yes, Wallace and Gromit are 30 years old this year. Can you believe that? This duo of inventor and dog are 30 years old. Also, I also want to mention from a couple shows ago, we talked about our Batman special. We did our big Batman special. Batman is 80 years old, and he looks fantastic, I think, for 80 years old. So
Doesn't age today.
absolutely not. So yes, points to 30 years old for Wallace and Gromit and 80 years old for Batman. So let's kick it off with talking about their very first short for Wallace and Gromit that came out in 1989. Which is that theme song you heard is the Wallace and Gromit theme, but it's also named A Grand Day Out, which also happens to be the name of their first short. So here is A Grand Day Out. Yes, so A Grand Day Out was their first short that came out in 1989. You're going to hear that theme song a lot because that's their theme song. And the short introduces our main character, Wallace, who is an inventor and creates these crazy things every so often, and his non-speaking dog named Gromit. And basically, Wallace is kind of obsessed with this thing that goes on as a running joke throughout all the shorts and the movie and the other things, which is cheese. He loves cheese. And unfortunately, they're out in the house. So they don't go to the store. They don't go to a farm. Where do they go? They go to the moon. They build a
Everybody knows the moon's made of cheese.
That's right. In fact, I think I gotta say, Dylan, that was a pretty good impression, but I think we should better hear it from the mouth of the man himself. So, yes, they don't go to a store, they don't go to a farm, they go to instead this place.
Everybody knows the moon's made of cheese.
Yeah, that's right. So they build a rocket ship, they go to the moon. Obviously, something doesn't taste quite right when they taste it. They also encounter a strange robot that was sent to the moon. Chaos and hilarity ensues between Wallace and Gromit and the robot. Eventually, they come home with some quote-unquote cheese, and that's the end.
Is it cheese?
Is it? That's the real question.
They've got to go somewhere where there's cheese.
The constant thing, however, that Wallace is worried about whenever they go to the moon is the thing that the cheese goes on, and the cheese goes on if you've had this snack before. Obviously, goes on this.
No crackers, Gromit. We've forgotten the crackers.
So you can see how dramatic and how silly it sounds already. And the voice you're hearing is, of course, Peter Sallis, who has voiced Wallace ever since the beginning.
Rest in peace.
Yes, rest in peace indeed. He voiced Wallace from the beginning to the very last short they've made. So we'll start it off with Dylan, because Dylan, I know you love Wallace and Gromit, and you're a big fan of this stuff. What is your thought on A Grand Day Out? Do you think it's different from the others, or do you think it's a good start?
I think it's a good start. It's I mean, I think a lot of people are used to like maybe the movies and them having more of a plot. This is just a simple, okay, man and his dog go to the moon, they want cheese, find a robot, hilarity ensues. I think it's a good short and nominated for an Academy Award.
Yes.
It's funny, it's stupid, but it's harmless and it's a good start. And yeah, you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, I absolutely know what you mean. And
it's full of references. And also to mention,
Yeah.
Wallace is a brilliant inventor, but he's not that smart.
yeah. Literally, when I know there's a scene when he's designing the rocket on this giant drawing pad. You hear him drawing all these lines. You think he's coming up with a great idea, and it's really just tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
And that's brilliant. And Christy, you're a big fan of Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, I grew up with Wallace and Gromit. I saw the shorts when I was really young. I remember when the movie came out. I loved the first one. I thought it was amazing.
I own all the DVDs.
Yes. So simple yet so genius. I could talk for hours about this one short. It's amazing, and the robot is a little strange, but such a lovable short and amazing story.
Hey, it just wanted to go skiing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Casey, you're kind of the lone guy in this thing, because you don't know too much about Wallace and Gromit. You said.
Actually, so I haven't seen this one. This is looking at actually the only one of the shorts I haven't seen, because looking through, I realized I've seen almost all of these.
There you go.
Yeah.
The one thing about this one, since it was the first ever encounter that people got with Wallace and Gromit, this was done. Everything according to these two guys are made by a guy named Nick Park, and yes, very much genius. And you can see the design of Wallace in this first one is a little bit different. He kind of has a skinnier head, I'd say.
And also, it's a little more rudimentary.
It
like,
is.
You can see the thumbprints.
You can see the thumbprints.
I mean, obviously, in Curse of the Were Rabbit, we'll get onto that, but they probably use like CGI to
just a little bit, yeah.
Smooth everything out.
Definitely.
And what Dylan means when he says thumbprints is that's what makes Wallace and Gromit so unique, is that they are claymation. They are made of clay. It's a entirely smooth stop motion, pretty much, and it's just really, really well done. And you watch these things, and you're just in awe, because you think claymation, that can't be really that professional, and yet this is.
A lot of hard work went into this, and we have to applaud them for
Absolutely.
And also
Yeah.
all claymation.
Wallace and Gromit is without a doubt the greatest claymation ever made, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, and I also want to give a quick applaud to our man who does a show before us, Mitch, because he always plugs us for our show. So I want to give a quick applaud to Mitch for doing our plugs for us. Thank you. So yeah, this was nominated for an Academy Award, like you said, Dylan, and it did become a huge success. And we knew that we had to do something. They knew they had to do something bigger and better.
You got to start somewhere.
Exactly. So we actually got a sequel out of this that kind of becomes the mainstream of Wallace and Gromit. This is where people kind of start to get their foot in the door and say, "Oh yeah, now I remember." And this is their second short that came out in 1993, I want to say.
93.
93, I want to say, yes. And so this is called The Wrong Trousers. And we're going to play the main theme again for you real quick from The Wrong Trousers. And you're going to hear something at the end of the theme song that's going to give a sense of what this short is going to be like. So give a quick listen to the main theme from The Wrong Trousers. So yes, that should give you a hint of that this show is going to be a lot darker, It's going to be a little bit more suspenseful, and it is because
Well, it's a crime.
it is a crime, and
Also a horror.
a little bit. So
And
the plot of this
Gromit.
one is that we start out with Gromit's birthday, and Wallace gives him a present of yet another invention that he calls techno trousers, and they're basically just robotic pants, pretty much, and
they're supposed to take Gromit on a walk.
they're pretty much supposed to take Gromit on a walk and leave Wallace to some work. They're low on money, so they decide to rent out a room
Because of the wrong trousers.
because of the wrong trousers. And the person, or I shouldn't really say person, the thing that takes the room is a penguin. And this penguin has a story because actually the penguin is a crime lord.
He's a chicken.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Have you seen this chicken?
I have seen this chicken because the penguin is a crime lord who
Feathers McGraw.
named Feathers McGraw, who disguises himself as a chicken by putting a red rubber glove on his head.
I could not tell the difference. when I watched it.
Apparently, everybody in the town that Wallace and Gromit live in apparently have the same brain capacity as Wallace.
I
Apparently
mean,
so.
really.
I couldn't
Yeah.
tell. Hey, no. Hey, let's be fair. I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
No. Could you? No.
It was hard. I gotta tell
It
you.
was hard to tell.
It was really hard. But yeah, and so Feathers McGraw decides, because he now knows about Wallace and his inventions, decides to take advantage of Wallace. He kind of gets to know him more, gets friendly with him,
Push Gromit out.
and push Gromit out of the way, push him out of his room, even forces him out of the house because Gromit just feels now he's left out and he's lost his friend Wallace. Feathers McGraw gets so friendly with Wallace that he decides to basically take him while he's sleeping one night, put him in the techno trousers, and make him perform a crime, which is stealing a diamond from a museum. Wallace wakes up during the crime, doesn't know where he is, and we actually end up in Casey. What did you call this next scene?
One of the greatest animated action scenes of all time.
That is correct. It is probably it is a popular scene in this thing. You have Wallace has set up toy trains throughout the entire house, and he and Gromit are chasing Feathers McGraw throughout the entire house, and Gromit is on the toy train going all the way around the house.
At one point, laying down
Laying
the
down
tracks.
the
and
tracks.
laying down the
going.
laying down the tracks is the popular farce.
It becomes a western too.
Yeah,
because
pretty
Feathers
much.
McGraw, he's got the gun.
And I also just want to say how heartbreaking it was to see Gromit crying.
Yes.
Yes, it
I
was.
shed many tears over that.
I mean, it might be a little hard to understand, but just imagine this: Gromit is on a train chasing a penguin, and
Who has a revolver?
who has a revolver, and
A
he's
toy train.
just run out of track. Take a listen and imagine this.
Hold on to the table for me! Well done! We did it! Ha ha!
So there you go. That gives a little bit of an example of what of what's kind of going on here. That clicking you heard was Gromit laying down the track as he went along on the train. So that's always a funny scene. Also, the techno trousers do give they kind of make Gromit mad in a way because he's kind of having a lousy birthday already because this is what he gets in the mail. This is kind of funny if you take a listen to this. So yeah, he gets a silly singing card
To a dear dog.
to a dear dog, and while the techno trousers are kind of bringing Gromit around and bringing him on his quote unquote walks, Wallace is stuck at home trying to find money along with renting out the room, and this is kind of his dilemma right here.
There's no use prevaricating about the bush.
So you can see his kind of his problem there. And so, of course, they capture Feathers McGraw, and they end up putting him in jail, which the jail turns out to be the zoo.
Hey, I just do have a question, though.
Yes.
I wonder why they didn't just step off the train.
Yeah.
Because it would not have been as funny. That's why.
And why couldn't Wallace step out of the trousers?
Because it would not have
I
been that
know,
funny.
it's just
Just
funny.
don't question it. It's better this
I
way.
know, it's funny,
better
though.
This way.
No, I like this one. I think
and
it
if-
was.
And if you guys, and it's obvious when you hear about it, but in the first two shorts, Wallace is the only one who talks.
True. This is true.
And also, hey, don't forget there was a reward out for the penguin. They bring the penguin in jail.
And they get the money. That's
and
true.
they pay off all their debts, and they're saved.
All is well.
And and don't forget, the trousers walk off into the sunset.
That's true. The other thing is that Wallace kind of has a familiar look now. He's kind of wide in his mouth a little bit, and this gives him his familiar look. But you know what? You know what I'm thinking here, guys? Go with me here. This is an English guy, and he's bald. Have we seen another English bald guy before?
Oh no.
Are we? I'm trying to think. It's definitely not Donald Pleasance, and it's not Telly Savalas. But I think his name is certainly Charles Gray. Yes, Charles Gray.
No, wait, Charles Gray has hair.
Yes, I know.
Charles Gray.
I couldn't resist.
And cross that one off of the
Yeah, bingo.
Yeah, there's the bingo sheet right there. Yeah, I had to bring back the Blofeld joke. I'm sorry. It's a.
Apologize again.
No. Anyway, so Wrong Trousers was a huge success. This one actually won an Academy Award.
Yep.
Epic.
And so Nick Park and his crew knew they wanted to do more, bring back the characters, so they brought them back in 1995, and they brought them back in probably their most popular short at the time, which was A Close Shave. And this one actually didn't incorporate the theme song that you heard previously when they rolled the credits. They incorporated kind of a mystery theme because it is essentially a mystery. Take a listen to this, and there's definitely some dramatic elements.
It's another crime.
Yeah, take a listen real quick. Yeah, so I mean, like, right there, you hear some drums right there, and that thong sound you heard was a knife going on the floor. So, obviously, there's some suspense involved in this one. This is probably their most popular one because we get introduced to another character in the Wallace and Gromit universe. A character, unfortunately named Shaun the Sheep. Now, Shaun the Sheep is part of this sheep group that is being herded by a shepherd and her dog, and we don't necessarily know what they're being herded to, but we soon find out that they're part of a elaborate scheme.
Sheep rustling.
Sheep rustling, exactly. And the sheep are, being sheared, of course, for yarn, which is totally fine, but also they're being supposedly turned into dog food. Or, it gets to be sort of a love-hate relationship here, kind of, because you start to love the new characters involved here. We meet the yarn shop owner, Wendeline, and her dog, Preston.
She's basically just female Wallace.
Exactly.
If you notice,
Exactly.
You just put a
Even the
bowl
same
cut.
hair.
Yeah,
Same
hair, the same
mouth.
teeth.
Like
Yeah.
they put a bowl cut hair on. her.
Exactly.
Speaking of their teeth, they only have 4 teeth on top and like 100 on the bottom.
Well,
Yeah.
that English dentistry right there.
Oh, true. Daniel's an Anglophobe.
And you start to like them because Wallace, soon kind of has an attraction to Wendeline, and you kind of want them to get together. But she does have a double life as this sheep rustler, and her dog is kind of have a mind of his own, and he and Gromit kind of get into it. This dog Preston goes as far as to actually frame Gromit for sheep rustling and puts Gromit in jail,
I don't know how he does that.
leaving Wallace with all these sheep. And, however, the sheep teamed up with Shaun the Sheep and Wallace, break Gromit out of jail, save Wendeline from Preston, who has trapped her in with all these sheep, which she claims by shouting like this.
Out! You're not going to turn me into dog meat.
Dog meat.
So there you go. Again, reference to the dog meat there. They save the sheep. They save Wendeline. However, there's still a problem, and that's Preston, because we find out that Preston is
A cyber dog.
a cyber dog. Yes.
A
So,
robot.
and Dylan, you told me that there's a scene where Preston bursts out of a gadget that Wallace made called the Shearomatic.
Yeah, something. What is it called?
Something along those lines.
It makes
Knit-O-Matic.
Knit-O-Matic, and it makes sweaters. And he bursts out of this thing, showing his cybernetic parts. And you said that is a reference to another film.
It's the Terminator.
Yeah.
The robotic arm breaking through.
No doubt.
And then, also, spoiler alert, Preston gets crushed.
Mm-hmm.
The Terminator.
It's a Terminator. It's a Terminator spoof.
See, I never actually knew that, which is really interesting.
Watch the
about that.
Terminator. Great movie.
So, and I say this is probably the most famous because Shaun the Sheep has actually had his own career after this thing. He's had a TV show. He's had a couple films.
His own series.
Yeah, like I said, his own series. And so, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that they went with that character. And
He
not
also
Wallace
appeared in
and Gromit.
other Wallace and
Oh
Gromit.
yeah. Oh yeah. And something to add here. If you look closely, there is an Easter egg to every single one of their shorts, including the movie, in A Close Shave.
Is there really?
Yes, there's the moon in the background referencing their adventure. There's in the cell Gromit is in, you see a thing that says feathers was ear, and at one point they mentioned pest control referencing the movie. And for the short, it's a matter of loaf and death. You see a poster for Baker Bob.
There you go.
Also, speaking of businesses too, it's also in this short where it's the beginning of Wallace and Gromit being in business.
Yes.
You know, the first two shorts, he's just an inventor, but this one, they run a business called Wash and Go.
Wash and go.
You know, because of the Were Rabbit, they have Antipesto,
Yep.
Loaf and Death, the bakers.
Yeah. And you know, the thing you mentioned about Wash and Go is that we played for you that the charming theme that Wallace and Gromit are connected with. This actually really surprises me every time I hear this because I want you to take a look. I want you to take a listen to Wallace and Gromit Are Go, or the Wash and Go theme, and you tell me if you had heard this for the first time, would you connect this to Wallace and Gromit? Take a listen to this. So, Casey, we'll go to you since you're a little since you do know now. Surprisingly,
Yeah, a surprising amount. Although, again, I don't remember much of this one. I watched these when I was like young, and I didn't realize it until like right now.
but tell me, would that sound like a Wallace and Gromit thing if you had never known about it?
No, I'd probably think Superman, to be honest.
There you go. Yeah. All the music in everything, according to these two, are done by a guy named Julian Knott, who does a really good job with just bringing you into their world and bringing in different
All shorts and
all
movies
shorts,
have been-
all movies. Just bringing you into their world and bringing different pieces of music that you'd never expect. Casey, back to you actually for a second. Between Wrong Trousers and Close Shave and even Grand Day Out, which of the three would you say would you watch the most often?
I mean, I'm gonna give a bit of a cop-out answer and say Wrong Trousers. Just for the train scene, I could watch it over and over again. Yeah, that would be my answer.
There you go. And Dylan, which one would you choose?
I'd choose A Close Shave,
Close
but I
Shave.
like all of them.
Absolutely.
To be fair.
Absolutely.
I own the DVD, Three Amazing Adventures, and I always like watching Close
I
Shave.
think I own that, but it's scratched to death. But anyway, though.
What would you say out of the three?
I'm very, very, very hard pressed to say because I love all of them so much, but to differ from everybody else, I'd have to say A Grand Day Out to get back to its roots.
There you go. I like that.
I love all of them, as I said, so.
Well,
What
as
about you, Daniel?
you know, I love them all. I love them all. So as big as these shorts were, Nick Park knew, his company Aardman knew that they wanted to go big. And that's when a company called DreamWorks came along and said, hey, how about we make a movie? So, when we come back, we're going to talk about Wallace and Gromit's only big screen adventure, and then what came to follow after that, after their huge motion picture. So we'll be right back after a public service announcement. Here's the rest of Wallace and Gromit are go for launch.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a
I'm
bear
a little
hug.
curious. I'm just
I
curious.
put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now.
There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We are back. My name is Daniel Saletti. This is As the Reel Turns. I'm here with Christy, Dylan, and Casey, and we're talking about Wallace and Gromit. And if you hadn't guessed that was a Wallace and Gromit theme, it sure is, because it is the theme to their new business in their brand new movie. In 2005, we got the only Wallace and Gromit motion picture entitled Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. A perfect movie to watch for the upcoming month of October and Halloween and all that good stuff. Primarily, this movie is about Wallace and Gromit are pest control specialists.
Anti-pesto.
Anti-pesto, exactly. And they basically are called on to take a look at this monster that's been stealing their town's vegetables for their vegetable contest. They don't
Which Gromit is in.
Which Gromit is in. They don't know what the monster is until they finally discover that it is a giant rabbit. What is the rabbit? Who is the rabbit? Spoiler alert, it is actually Wallace. Wallace is the were-rabbit, and it's basically a hunt to find Wallace, control him, bring him back to normal, and defeat the rabbit inside him. This movie was my first introduction to Wallace and Gromit, and I'm sure a lot of people's introduction to Wallace and Gromit. It not only has Peter Sallis back from the shorts, but also has an all-star cast, including Helena Bonham Carter, Ray Fiennes, and others as well, including Gromit, who doesn't say anything. Exactly. So, I'm sure all four of us here have seen this movie.
Yeah, it's just been a while for me.
And
Movie night. Movie night. Movie night.
Okay, and I think we can all agree that this is one of the best movies out there.
Won an Oscar.
Yeah.
Actually, for the Oscar win, for those who don't know, Nick Park and his partner at that time, Steve Box. They wore bow ties like Wallace.
There you go.
And when they won, they had mini bow ties and they put them on the Oscar statues.
That's adorable. All right, so
well deserved.
Dylan, we'll start with you. How much do you love this movie, and how much is it an important part to movie history?
I love this movie. I love it, and also it's a win for claymation in general. You have movies like Coraline, Nightmare Before Christmas. This wins. It takes two classic characters. It's the big screen debut. It's a comedy movie, so it's not like a close shave or like Long Trousers. It's full on comedy, you will laugh.
Oh yeah.
Come on, Gromit surfing on a watermelon.
Yeah, he actually does surf on a watermelon, trying to lure the were-rabbit away from the vegetable competition that I was talking about.
For those who don't know, the reason why Wallace is the were-rabbit is because he used an invention, the mind manipulation omatic, to change his love from cheese to vegetables in order to lose weight.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, as you know, and things go wrong, hilarity ensues.
Exactly.
And actually, because he gets fused with a rabbit, it's a reference to the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah,
'cause he
okay.
turns into the rabbit.
Okay, I can see
And the
that.
rabbit turns into him.
Yes, the rabbit that actually melded minds. Sorry, that's the word. With Wallace becomes kind of like a human type of a rabbit, named Hutch, and so it's kind of like who's the real Wallace and who's the real rabbit. Yeah, that's for you to decide.
And also,
Daniel, do you want a mind meld?
No, actually, are you part Vulcan?
Yes.
Oh, no way.
and also there's
Yeah, me too.
there's so many references to the other Wallace and Gromit.
Yes,
shorts,
yes. Like I said,
It's nostalgia.
there are some big British names in this movie. So take a quick listen to actually Helena Bonham Carter and Ray Fiennes.
Haven't we agreed? No more thoughtless killing.
Quite right, my dear. So I've thought this one through very carefully. It's off to bunny heaven for you, big ears.
Ginger, no!
So yeah,
I love that
there's
scene.
there's a little clip of the two big British
I
stars.
can quote this whole movie from beginning to end.
I never realized that was Ray Fiennes.
Yeah, that's Ray Fiennes.
I understood like right after because sounds just like him.
Oh, don't forget his dog Philip, who's Gromit.
Yeah, kind of Gromit's nemesis there.
The pocketbook.
As you can tell, there are so many memorable and funny moments from this movie.
Yeah, and I mean, I gotta say, I absolutely love this movie. It's such a great movie. 5 years in the making, by the way. It took them 5 years to make this 124-minute movie.
Exactly.
And
Well worth it.
Well worth
yeah.
it.
Well
Yeah.
worth it. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely paid off. And
Absolutely.
definitely deserved the Oscar.
Absolutely,
It's like-
absolutely.
A miracle of filmmaking that this movie turned out to be as legitimately great as it is.
Oh, and fun fact, their previous claymation movie, Chicken Run, inspired the animation Oscar.
That's the other thing
Really?
about
Yep.
Wallace and Gromit is
Yes,
that
it did. Because
they-
it never got any recognition, and then so a year later they did the animated feature.
we have the two guys, Wallace and Gromit, but we also have other people in their universe. Like Christy just said, we have Chicken Run, which came out I believe in 2002.
Well,
Uh,
2000.
2000. I'm sorry. And then just a couple of years after Were Rabbit came out, Aardman and DreamWorks came out with another claymation movie, which did not do as well as Wallace and Gromit, and not even as good as Chicken Run, which was Flushed Away.
I love that movie.
I love
That
it.
movie's
It's
so good
That's
too.
an amazing movie.
Hugh Jackman.
It was Hugh Jackman, Ian McKellen, a lot of big names in that one.
Jean Reno.
Was that her?
No, the
Oh.
the French guy.
Oh, the French guy. Okay, yeah.
It was
Bill
great.
Nye.
And-
Bill Nye was in
Bill
that?
Nye.
Wow, and a couple years later, then they did Pirates
Spike and-
Band of Misfits.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, the company is still around, but unfortunately, this is Wallace and Gromit's only big screen debut.
I have to say their movies. I'm not gonna say they're not bad. I've seen almost all of them, but
Yeah.
they're more like I can't say cult classics.
Yeah.
They're just like
Yeah.
They're not Were Rabbit.
Mhm.
They're not
Yeah.
Were Rabbit.
but they're still good. I don't know the right word. Like they're for the fans of claymation.
I
not
think that
like
would be
movie.
cult classics or
Yeah.
they're like genre films.
Genre
absolutely,
films, yeah.
absolutely. So this was so big. People were so happy about it. There were toys put out. There were Happy Meal toys put out. There was merchandise galore. And immediately when DVD sales came out, this movie was teamed up with the 3 original shorts. So you can definitely get a package of these.
That's how I watched them because I own them on that DVD. Oh my gosh, I'm remembering everything.
There you go. We probably have the same DVD set then.
Probably, yeah.
We'll have to use the mind manipulation.
Oh,
Matic to get him the.
So, actually, if you had gotten the same DVD set that Casey and I are talking about, you probably had watched our next Wallace and Gromit installment that I think came out in 2003, I want to say.
2002. If we're talking about the same thing.
Are we talking about Cracking Contraptions?
Yes, we are.
Okay,
Yeah.
2002. My bad. I'm really bad at years. So, Cracking Contraptions. Cracking Contraptions is basically a collection of really short shorts, like not even 5 minutes long, some of them. And they're a series of 10 small things where Wallace is showing new inventions that he makes, and they always seem to blow up.
Literally.
Literally. And usually they blow up, comma, in Gromit's face.
Sometimes in Wallace's though.
In Wallace's too. Dylan, I think you're the most familiar with these. Do you have a favorite of them?
Yes. I can't say favorite because I love all of them, but my favorites are Shopper 13. It's so funny. Oh my God, what's that one? The Soccertron.
Sockomatic, yeah. Sockomatic.
And oh my God, what was the other one? The breakfast one.
The Turbo Diner?
Yeah, the Turbo Diner.
Auto
No,
Chef.
the robot.
Auto Chef.
Yes.
Auto Chef.
Scrambled eggs, eh, lad?
Yeah, exactly. They are.
Oh, actually, Shopper 13 features the return of
Shaun the Sheep. Yeah, Shaun the Sheep
He's
is
the
in that
probe.
one. Since you mentioned Sockomatic, we have that one here actually. So why don't we give a quick listen to Sockomatic just to give you an example of what these crazy inventions could entail.
Smashing! How do you like my Preston North End Sockomatic, Gromit? Works a treat, eh, lad? Guaranteed. All the gold, none of the fuss. Oh, and out of balls. Look what you do, ball and make the front. Get ready, Gromit. Oh.
So yeah, there's an example of one of Wallace's crazy inventions that this actually didn't explode in his face. Gromit just struck back with catching all the balls that Wallace was throwing at him.
Well, technically, it blew up because Gromit did blow himself up to an
he,
enormous size.
Yeah,
so,
he inflates himself, sort of. So these were just kind of like a little bonus thing that you get on that DVD, but it also I think counts. I think because it's an inclusion in the Wallace and Gromit universe. Now they've made shorts, they've made a movie, they made DVD extras. Wallace and Gromit have never officially been on TV regularly until they did, because for only 6 short episodes, we actually got an official Wallace and Gromit TV show. And Wallace, would you like to introduce your show for us, please?
Hello, viewers, and welcome to my world of invention. The show that takes the sigh out of science and puts the sheen on machines. Household chores never end, do they?
So yes, World of Invention. Like I said, it was a 6-episode television show that, again, like in the shorts, the film, Cracking Contraptions, and now this, features Peter Sallis as Wallace. And you'd think it'd be pretty hard to make a claymation television show. Well,
it kind of is.
It kind of is, but
it's so time consuming.
But it also, in the sense, this is not really a claymation TV show. Wallace and Gromit do these host segments every so often, and they come in between these bits of live action segments where you see people around the country of England showing off other inventions pertaining to a theme of the episode.
It's more of a documentary.
Yeah, it's kind of like those kids shows where you have a host does a host segment, cut to the live action scenes of
Fetch with Rough Roughman.
That's the one that could work.
That show's good too.
Actually, yeah, that's for game shows. Forgot to mention that.
Oh, we did.
Sure. Oh, calm down.
Make me.
So, Christy, we'll start with you. Do you think that having a TV show where Wallace and Gromit do host segments and then have live action segments of other real inventions was a good idea or a bad idea?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I guess it would be all right, but I mean, I would love to see Wally and Gromit any day. There's nothing I dislike. There's nothing that I can hate about them being anywhere. But I don't know. Sometimes you just got to stay in your lane.
Yeah. Casey, what about you? Do you think that was a good idea to have the live action and claymation bits together, or do you think they should just stick Wallace and Gromit just with themselves because that's what people want?
I don't really know. I mean, it like Christy said, kind of like stay in your lane, because Wallace and Gromit has its thing. I don't see a problem in experimenting, but odds are, especially as an adult now, I probably wouldn't wind up watching it regularly. So.
And Dylan, what are your thoughts?
This is an interesting idea, but I prefer Wallace and Gromit stick to their shorts.
Right.
I want more shorts. Not this.
Well,
It's interesting though.
The good thing is that you can find this on DVD. I have it, all 6 episodes together. And I've seen all 6 of them. They're not bad. They're just like a Saturday morning cartoon type of a thing. But you just have to keep in mind that it won't be all Wallace and Gromit all the time.
And I'd prefer that if
Yeah.
it was Wallace and Gromit all the time.
Thankfully, they did stay in their lane, and in 2008, we got our 4th and final short of For Now, which is entitled, probably the silliest of them all, A Matter of Loaf and Death. Wallace and Gromit have completely, forgotten about the whole TV show and stuff like that, and they've decided to leave the window washing business, the pest control business, and go into baking. They go so far as to actually convert their house into a windmill. And basically, they just deliver bread. And if you don't believe me, well, take a listen.
Good day's work, man. We're bang on target.
So yes, they basically are just delivering bread to everywhere. The sounds you heard are throwing them into mailboxes, and actually even throwing them into people, because Wallace gets distracted by yet another crush. He discovers a woman riding on a bicycle in front of him that turns out to be a spokeslady for a big bread company, and her name is Pamela. And the idea of this short is that Wallace even goes further than he did with Wendeline in this. He really gets to know Pamela. They spend all the time together. Gromit even does familiar movie parodies, like he is controlling an oven, and it goes from warm to, and warm means Wallace and Pamela going down an Italian riverway. Hot means tango between the two of them, and very hot means let's parody the famous scene from Ghost.
Of course.
So it's really, really funny what
I
they
actually
do.
have only seen bits and pieces of this one.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry.
And also, so with all this relationship, they actually go as far as to, Wallace and Pamela get engaged. And this all is actually a plot, because Pamela, it really just wants to get Wallace really close to her so she can kill him.
She's a serial killer.
She is a serial
I have
killer.
to say, she is one of the, I think, darkest villains in
Oh,
all
yeah.
of the series. Like, Fellas McGraw, he just wants to steal the diamond. The bulldog, Preston, I know he was killing, but like dog. But this, like, a serial killer.
Oh yeah.
Victor Quartermain, he just
he
wanted the
was
money.
crazy, but like.
Yeah. I mean,
he malfunctioned.
Exactly. And if you don't believe me, here's Pamela telling you her plot herself.
My 13th, my baker's dozen.
Huh? Exactly as I say, or Fluffles get snuffled.
So yeah, there's a couple of clips together to show you that she's kind of crazy, and she took the idea of a baker's dozen. She's been collecting bakers and basically just killing them one by one to make 13 bakers.
And her motivation is she used to be the bake light girl.
Exactly, and that's the spokeslady part of her, and she just she gained weight, and
They fired her. And so it's revenge.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a darker one, I think, but I like it all the same. Peter Sallis still returns, which I love, and am I wrong in to say that it wasn't as good as the 3 original shorts?
You're not wrong.
Okay.
I like this one, but this was my least favorite.
Christy, you said you've never seen this all the way through. Do you think
bits and pieces?
Do you think you would see it all the way through?
Yeah, sure. Complete the 4 ones, but I'm going to tell you, the original trilogy, nothing beats it.
Oh yeah.
Not even the movie. I'm sorry to say.
Casey, what are your thoughts?
I can't remember if I've seen this one. Like that clip that we played started to jog my memory a bit, but I just I don't know. I'd be down to watch it too, just because there's nothing really wrong with watching Wallace and Gromit ever.
Oh yeah,
But, like,
I totally agree with that.
For all those out there who want to watch it, they're currently streaming on Prime.
There you go. There you go.
Take a look. Or just pick up the DVD for like $5 at probably like Bargain Bin.
Bonus.
You can definitely find Curse of the Were-Rabbit in bargain bins, because I have before.
Oh yeah.
Bull Moose Run. Bull Moose Run. Bull.
Possibly.
No.
Okay, fine.
Not you, Daniel.
Add that to the bingo.
Not just me.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So when we come
And
back,
Profile.
we're gonna talk about a couple things that are not as really well known regarding Wallace and Gromit, and then we'll give our final thoughts and play our favorite final game. Who are you? So don't go anywhere. We will be right back with some more. And let's just have Pamela terrorize us out into our public service announcement. We'll be right back.
Get that thing away, lad!
Ranger Station.
I'd like to report a bear hug. I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let photo editing today. And
There are many
photo
ways to
editing.
start a fire, but one
This is
sure
my
way to put
project.
it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state
Well, yeah, that's
forester.
because they were. This is a real
Ranger
photo.
Station.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting in the forest.
Uh-huh.
1 second I'm having a smoke. Next thing I know, I'm face to face with Smokey Bear.
Wow.
And he told me it only takes one spark to start a wildfire.
Did you know 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans?
I had no idea.
That's why Smokey's famous and you're not. If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the
Well, I'm running for
Learn
president.
more at SmokeyBear.com. Only you can prevent wildfires.
All right, Brett.
Everybody preaching!
Okay, who's confused as I am? Yeah.
Yeah, what languages was that?
Well, I'm gonna tell you. Like I said, now we're back. My name is Daniel Saletti, by the way. This is As the Real Turns. We're talking about Wallace and Gromit with Christy, Casey, and Dylan. And if you are, again, as confused as I am, I'll explain why. So, before we went to break, I said we were going to talk about some not so well-known Wallace and Gromit things. And those things actually are, first, their commercial career. And what you just heard there was actually a Japanese commercial for some Japanese pudding. And it features Wallace and Gromit trying to eat the pudding, and eventually the quick music is Shaun the Sheep running, and he steals it from under Wallace's hand. I think it's really strange. It's a really strange thing, but they got 2 more commercials out of it.
Konnichiwa, fellow otaku.
There you go. The other big, and so yeah, Wallace and Gromit have had a commercial career, not to everything from Japanese pudding to N-Power, which is a installation and power company in England. One of their famous commercial trends is the N-Power one, so let's give a quick listen to N-Power. Here you go. What you don't see is that Wallace is holding a hook, and the ceiling collapses, and he is now surrounded by sheep, which makes him look like a shepherd. So yes, there are multiple commercials featuring the two English duo, or the two English guys, and they everything from Visit England to science museums to cars to even Google Hangouts, and that's the great thing. The other thing that they've done commercials for is actually the channels that you see in England, BBC. They've done a lot of Christmas adverts with BBC One and BBC Two. One of the most famous is for BBC One, where Gromit pushes Wallace up a hill, and Wallace goes down on a sled and just keeps going round and round and round and round. Lots of fun to be had there, and they're so much fun. The other thing is that Wallace and Gromit are so popular that they've actually made a ride out of them. Yes, there's a Wallace and Gromit ride in Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and it's called the Wallace and Gromit Thrill-O-Matic. And it basically takes you through multiple scenes of the shorts and the feature film. So you see Wallace coming down from the ceiling in his famous catapult bed, and you actually see the famous ghost parody scene from Matter, Loaf, and Death, the wrong trousers. You see Sean a couple times, and at the very end, you're scared to life by the were-rabbit himself. The funny part about this ride is that you're riding in one of Wallace's famous slippers. So.
No, they should have done the train.
I think there is the train actually in one point. If you like to see this, unfortunately it doesn't pertain too well to radio, but if you want to take a look at the ride through, there's many views on YouTube. Highly recommend it. It's really fun and really cool to look at. So guys, it's just about time for final thoughts. Christy, we'll start with you. Out of all the Wallace and Gromit stuff, do you have a favorite moment, or do you say you would just watch this for all ages?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a shock that I haven't ranted yet.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, that's actually something that you remind me of. Guys, do you think it's time that we do a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Christy, what's the word I'm looking for?
Rant.
Rant, yes, of course. It's time for another rendition of Christy Rants.
I got nothing. Wallace and Gromit is without a doubt the greatest claymation ever made. There's nothing wrong with it, and I love them. But one thing I should add, though, Daniel had the biggest crush on both Lady Toddington and Wendelin. He had the biggest crush. He would not stop talking about it, so spread the word.
That is not the rant I approve.
Well, okay, here's the thing. That is
Gwendolyn was Wallace.
That is not true. I do not have a crush on those two ladies. I'm sure they're very nice, but
Not even Pamela.
But you do like Wallace.
That is not true either, actually. But they're both very nice women. I'm sure of it. All right, so Dylan, your final thoughts on Wallace and Gromit. Is it for all ages? And do you have a favorite moment?
I love Wallace and Gromit. Yes, I recommend everyone watch them. The classics, and my favorite moment, I don't know. I think just all of it.
And Casey, now that you've had kind of like a vision, revelation of Wallace and Gromit, do you have a favorite moment, or do you think it's for all ages?
Favorite moment would probably be the entire ending sequence from Curse of the Were-Rabbit. It's amazing, and it feels like it's real cinema, and you wouldn't expect that from claymation. I don't have anything else to say. Pretty awesome. Everyone should watch.
Well, I think it's just about time to play our favorite game. Guys, it is time for yet another edition of Who Are You? All right. The idea of this game is that I'm going to play a line from a movie or TV show for the three guys here, and basically they have to give me who that is and what they are from. and then I give them points. The points don't matter, just like reboots in Hollywood. The points don't matter. Are you guys ready for your clip?
Yes.
Okay. Gentlemen, here is your clip.
On behalf of Joey, I would just like to say that Joey is innocent.
All right, that is your clip, gentlemen. Do you need to hear it again, or do you have an answer?
I have an answer.
All right, Casey, we'll go to you. Who is this, and what is it from?
Casey McCall, Sports Night.
Okay, Dylan.
No idea.
Christy.
I don't know.
Okay. Are you sure you don't need to hear it again?
I don't know. It's probably not. It's definitely not Friends.
Okay. Do you have an answer? Dylan?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, for you at home, this is also a game that you can play. The answer is actually, that is Joey Gladstone from Full House. That is Dave Coulier. That was a clip from Full House, and saying the name Joey, that should have given it away. All right, so I want to thank Casey, Dylan, and Christy for jumping on the show today. It's been so much fun talking about Wallace and Gromit, and I hope that people can always enjoy this thing, and I hope they continue to make more, despite Peter Salas not being with us anymore.
They're going to make more.
I hope they make more.
But there will never be the same Wallace.
Absolutely not. Next week, I am happy to say that it will be October, which is officially mean we're going to be kicking off our Halloween season themed shows. We're going to be doing some slightly creepier ideas, and then the last 2 weeks, we're going to actually just dive into some monsters and some slashers too. But before we get to them, we're going to kick it off with something creepy and set in another dimension. Yes, next week will be everything having to do in the Twilight Zone. So, come back to us next week, and it'll be so much fun. My name is Daniel Saletti. This has been As the Real Turns. We are the night shift, so we're going to kick it off with our end theme of Night Court. Once again, this is WKNH Keene. I'm Daniel Saletti. This has been As the Real Turns.
I go to Rainbow Twilight Zone.
Sit out this month and let Ben fill in.
Sure.
Yeah, I have got nothing to say about any horror movie that isn't called Alien.
We can talk.
I might send something in just so we're not spending a long time on it.
And even though people want to make a bingo board about it whenever they hear me say it, this is WKNH Keene.
Bingo!
91.3.
I got to say
Use a
my thing.
food thermometer to be sure you've cooked meat and poultry to a bacteria-killing temperature, raw or...
Alright, I don't think that was bad.
It was a good show. I'm glad I got to say what I wanted to say about Wallace. Yeah, I win.
I was really surprised by how much I wound up actually remembering.
Yeah, there you go, see?
Do you want to know what my rant about Twilight Zone is going to be next week? Cavender is coming.
What's that?
It was one of the last episodes of season 3, and I want to tell you why it's bad. Just picture this and let this sink in.
Hold on a second. Shh, everybody quiet for 1 second. This is Daniel Saletti of As the Real Turns. Now stay tuned for Colette and What the Folk. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Let this sink in. I probably have told you guys this before, but Cavender is coming as one of the last episodes of season 3.
Yeah.
Just picture this. Twilight Zone with a laugh track.
Oh yeah, you've told me about that.
Yeah. There was an episode that had a laugh track.
Are you gonna
I'm gonna watch that and be like, what were you guys thinking?
Thank you, Casey.
Because they thought it was gonna be